For 5 damage, I'll attack your Vanguard for 5 to guard. No guard. What do you mean, no guard? You have like 12 cards in hand, dude. No guard. Bro, what the Show me your hand. Right. Welcome back to the YellowCard Vanguard Channel. ItsToku here, bringing you a new segment to the channel in conjunction with the release of Overdress. We're calling this the Drive Check. 20-30 minute segment where we take a look at one of my deck recipes that I've brewed up. I'll run through the card choice ratios and why we play so-and-so at these counts, and give you a quick rundown on what the deck's winning image is, show a couple of playtest games that I did, and finally give my last opinions on it. But first, if you aren't subscribed yet, why not? Subscribe now, and I promise that you will always overtrigger on your first grade 3 turn as Bastion. And now a message from our sponsor. Overdress has just hit the market, and after cracking some boxes, you find that you're missing some singles to finish that perfect Bastion deck. Well, look no further and head on over to Strictly Broken TCG, where you go for your Bushiroad card game needs. By the time this video drops, Overdress singles will be available for order, and you can get yours for 8% off using the discount code SBTCG ItsTokuTV at checkout. Once again, that's 8% off using SBTCG ItsTokuTV. Quickly running through the deck list here, we've got 3 Bastion in the main deck, 4 Aldens, 4 Reflux, 4 Facades, 4 Kokabiels, 3 Solaria, and 4 Darkstain Dragon. As you can notice, I don't play any orders because I fear God. I play 4 of the Ditchless PG, 4 draw triggers, obviously 1 of the over trigger, 4 of the cute crit, 3 of the dude crit, 4 of the waifu heals, and in the right deck, Bastion, Rooks, Fort, and the waifu starter from the Hexagon Magus right line. So, let's take a look at the numbers. Obviously, we're going to play 3 Bastion in the main deck. Persona Ride is a mechanic that provides so much tempo that you want to be able to see Bastion as much as possible in your main deck to keep chaining Persona Rides and keep aggroing your opponent to submission. Allowing that to happen is Alden, for a measly cost of 2 Counterblast and 1 Soul Blast, and a grade 3 from hand. Not hard, honestly. You get not only 2 cards, but 2 bodies that attack for ridiculous numbers alongside Bastion. This set card's second effect, I didn't know this at the time of recording this, but this card does not say until the end of this battle, it says until the end of this turn. So if you're able to use Alden to swing first once, he'll swing for 18k. Then use Bastion skill to restand the Alden. The second Alden will swing for 23k, not including the 2k plus from Bastion skill, which would be really ridiculous in conjunction with going first and attacking into a grade 2 10k Vanguard. Next, we've got 4 whole copies of this card makes the deck pop. Reflux not only counts as a body on board, just to meet grade 3 conditions, but at the same time, he can be used as a booster alongside Darkstrain. He can be used as soul requirement for Darkstrain, giving another unit 10k as well. I do believe that Reflux at 4 is non-optional until further cards come out. Same thing with Facade at 4. This card is running 4 Facade because this card provides so much pressure if you're able to get him out early. Imagine calling him off a Fort skill or calling an Alden, God forbid, off a Fort skill and then using Alden's skill to call a Facade out. Facade is most likely going to be able to get you some resource back on his first turn out. Not only that, provide a body that cannot be hit by targeted abilities, such as Retire Orders or any other kind of prison skills. Facade's a body that attracts a lot of attention, and as such might actually leverage some of your hand to guard, as it is hard for a Bastion player to guard. Because it's hard for a Bastion player to guard, we do play for Kokabiel, a card that acts as a shield, and works very well in conjunction with Darkstrain. Darkstrain kind of emphasizes you to call down a field full of grade 3s for boost. Kokabiel plays off of that, as the more grade 3s you have on the board, including herself when you play her down, the bigger her shield gets. With a full field of grade 3, her herself is a 50k shield. Throw down another Kokabiel for the Guardian Circle, you have 2 20k shields as this skill is continuous. Next up, we have 3 Solaria. This card is probably the card that I would move between orders, Pot of Greed order, the Control order, or keep it as yourself, and I've been juggling between that slot. I do however believe that at this current time, Solaria does feel to be the best choice, as it's another grade 3 body that I can call off a Fort if need be, and it's just the perfect card to discard when going into Ride lines. Like, a lot of the times, when you have the cards in hand, like you have your full combo pieces in hand, you don't really want to discard one for ride lines. A Solaria in hand is always the easiest choice to discard with, and that's why I'm currently running her. Alongside with Bastion skill, and alongside with Facade. Between Facade, Bastion, and Solaria, Facade basically becomes on hit, draw one. Obviously, we're playing 4 PGs, cause I fear God. In a deck like Bastion, whose hand is riddled with grade 3s, PGs are probably the safest way to not die to a Vanguard attack. We play 4 because we play 4. Not much else to say except for this card's kind of mandatory at the moment until they introduce like grade 3 Sentinels, which, God forbid, I'm excited. Next up is the trigger lineup. So, obvious as it is, Bastion should be playing 7 or 8 crits. I'm opting for 7 with the choice of going to the 4th draw trigger. Reason for this being is I do want to find my combo pieces early, so any draw triggers I hit early will find me Reflux, will find me Facades, and will find me Aldens earlier. There was the argument that it might be better to play front triggers, as front triggers are worth more in the hand as shield, and that is something that Bastion, but lately I have been enjoying just that one draw trigger is able to get us that extra bit of advantage that Fort's blind advantage couldn't get us compared to the other starters that I do appreciate a lot. And obviously our ride line, Fort, Rooks, and Bastion. So let's look back at the reason why I don't play orders. Most other ride lines have the fact that each time they're ridden on to the next chain in the ride chain, they always have a guaranteed +1. Except for Fort. When you play an order, Fort is a maybe +1. Now, the orders, they have to be really good for me to consider playing them. The new order coming out in set 2, that might make me consider playing it over Solaria. However, at this current time, with people learning about how to rush against Bastion, I want Fort to always be able to call a unit. That's why I'm currently playing no order. That's it for the deck profile. Let's go flip some yellow cards. So our first match, it looks like to be against Barrel Magnus. I discard the Angel to ride into Forte. He rides into Deep Sonicer. He uses a skill to Soul Charge 1, and he will call down a Gungam to swing twice at me. I'll take the first one and a no pass the second one. Draw for turn, and I'll discard the Darkstrain to ride into Rooks using Fort's skill to call, unfortunately, a heal trigger to the back. I will swing at the Gungam to just deny him some counterblast and get that body off the field. He rides in to Electric Spartan. Nothing really happens in between these two. He uses Brother's Soul to Soul Charge. Soul Charge is over trigger. Always good to see that. One less worry to deal with this game. He calls another Gungam and gets another Soul Charge. He swings at me, and I take it, get a draw trigger. Always good to see that as well. We'll draw for turn. We will. Thinking on what to discard. I was thinking between the Witch, a Solaria, or the Reflux. But in the end, I discard Reflux because I do have 2 counterblasts that I can use Alden with here. So I'll call on the Facade, pull 2 more Aldens. Very nice. Going first with Bastion is kind of insane just because the 2k skill does make really good power lines with your grade 3s, attacking into a grade 2 Vanguard here. So I'll first swing with Facade. This is 15 to his 10, so it is a bit annoying for him to guard. I'll take the counter charge and the soul charge. I'll swing with Bastion. Doing already drive checks. I do get the Solaria. I'm going to dish the Solaria to now get my newly found resources. Pay those out to draw another card. A swing with Alden at 18, and we'll swing with Facade one more at 25 and get some more resources back. On his turn, he will ride into Barrel Magnus using Electro Spartan's skill. Soul Charge 1 from hand, and to draw a card and to Soul Charge. At this point, he calls down the Catius, I believe is the name. I'm looking at my hand here, and it seems that he's able to get to the turn 1's 15 soul Barrel Magnus, even using Crawl You Insects as the order to give Barrel Magnus a ridiculous amount of power. That's 30k just from the order itself. Draw the card and gets the soul that he needed. And using the skill to counterblast 2 and give the front row 5k, swinging at me at 18, easily guardable by a trigger. Unfortunately, I have no other triggers here, so I am forced to take it. For the Barrel Magnus attack, though, he will suck in my field and suck in his field, being able to reach the 15 soul threshold on turn 1. I will have to PG or risk losing immediately to a crit. He makes this column here, and I will throw the PG. His drive checks are a heal trigger which goes off and a Brother's Soul, and he will swing once more at me, and I will take this one as I do not have enough to guard this. Back to my turn. I do have the Bastion that I held from a long time. So we will ride into Bastion, do our Persona ride. Unfortunately, it does not get an amazing thing, but I will use the Alden skill to call out Refluke here. And I will fill up my board, and I think I have to go for game here. Otherwise, my hand is not healthy enough to guard everything that's coming, knowing that I already lost a lot of PGs to soul charging. I'll swing with the boost. This is 30k, 30k with the Persona ride, 40k, 40k. So effectively 38k swings at him. I did a misplay here. At this point in time, I did not know that Alden's skill on attack was until the end of turn. But knowing that, I probably would have swung Alden first, and then Vanguard, and then Alden again. In which case, I do get that free 10k buff. We will use Bastion skill to stand the Solaria and swing one more time. Ideally, there should have been the Alden for a larger number. But in the end, it did not matter because Alden swings with 2 crits, but he does have the PG in hand right now. So that is the end of my turn. As you can see, my hand is not the healthiest for guarding, and I'm looking down another Barrel Magnus turn. Even if his first attack is kind of mediocre, I have to throw everything I can at the Barrel Magnus swing, and in the end, I am still looking at a crit. Maybe there's a world where I could have taken that attack, potentially get an over-triggered defensive, but at that point, I would have gotten the over-trigger on his swing anyways. So let's see what he calls out here. Probably 2 to the front row just to make 3 attacks. Yeah, I'm calling the 2 cards that get 10k by themselves. So those are 28ks to me. Really good number, unironically. That is a trigger and a 5k guard that I need to block him. I don't have the cards for this Barrel Magnus attack, so I will take it and pray for the heal trigger, which I do not get. Our second game is against Orpheus. I mulligan my 2 cards, drawing into Facade, a very good card into the matchup. As unable to be retired by the order, he will ride into the grade 1 and search for the world that nobody knows. I will start my turn. I'm going to discard the Kokabiel, ride into Fort, and swing immediately. I get the Solaria, which is a good sign for next turn that when I ride up into Rooks, I'll be able to use her skill to get me a drawback as well. Using the Upstart Goblin World, he will Soul Blast 1 to draw a card, riding into the grade 2, using its skill to gain 5k, and he will swing 15 to 8. I will no guard, and I will take a Solaria as damage, and drawing for turn, discarding Solaria, obviously. I'm going to use Fort skill to show 2 grade 3s, and top deck a Kokabiel using Solaria skill to draw a card back. We'll go straight into attacks. I'm going to swing 10 to 10, and he will no pass this. Seeing that he no passed this, I will actually take back my attack, knowing that Orpheus needs 2 counterblasts to summon its army token. He'll go into his turn, discard to ride into Orpheus, calling the Gold Dragon, which uses its own skill to counterblast 1 and to call itself out, and using the other world to retire Kokabiel. He will swing with the dragon 10 to 10. This is an easy 5k guard which I give him, and I will no guard the Vanguard. Now there is a world where I should have taken both damage, that way I'd have 2 counterblasts for the Alden, but the attacks are a lot easier to guard at this point than they will be after he makes his shadow tokens. So I opt to play this turn slowly, as I see that I can only hit him once. I can attack the rear guard and attack the Vanguard, still hit him to only 1 damage. I'll go Facade to the rear. Facade's effect does activate on hitting anything. So effectively by hitting the Gold Dragon here, I do get my counter charge, my soul charge, and I can swing at Vanguard with Bastion. Any crit trigger that I would have gotten, I could have just put on the Facade without worrying about getting 2 open counterblasts to the opponent. He will Persona ride into his second copy of Orpheus here, calling down the grade 2, which lets him draw a card if his will is Abyssal Dark Knight, and 2 Bulba Mines to basically refund the counterblast he needs for next turn to make the Dark World Shadow token. I will let Facade die here, as I do think with the first attack there's no point in guarding Facade, as most attacks will go towards him. And at the last attack, I do believe I can guard here easily. I will start my turn, Persona riding for myself, and top deck the Facade like a good player. Call down the Facade off of Alden skill and draw 2 more cards. We'll make a huge back row with the Dark Strain and 2 Reflukes, using Dark Strain skill to give everyone boost, and we will go to town. He already has the 2 open counterblast, so there's no point in counterblast denying anymore, so we'll just go face this to place. I'll swing Facade first, as I do want to refund some resources just in case I draw another Alden here that I can draw 2 more with. He gets an early defensive trigger, and not the best, but we can break through it. He has to PG the first, give the crit and power to Alden, and we get 2 crits, which will give it to Alden here. I'll swing at the Vanguard here, and he is forced to PG, otherwise Fear going straight to game. He will counterblast 2 and make his tokens. No Persona Ride this turn. I'm happy to see that. He will make another world and retire the Alden here. Good choice. I do not have another one to replace that. Just thinking about which columns he's going to attack with. He obviously goes to the Facade. I'm not okay with that. I would rather keep the Facade alive, as I don't have a lot of grade 3 attackers in hand. He swings with the Vanguard. I do fear the over trigger, so I will PG that. Gives the power to the grade 2 here. And the grade 2 will swing at Facade. I will not allow that. Gubizla does not hit Facade here. I'll throw down 2 triggers for a 30k shield, which guards the attack. I'll start my turn off, and obviously I'm the best player. I have another Bastion in hand, so we'll call the Refluke. We will use Refluke skill to give Facade another 10k, push him to the front, and swap this column because I do want to protect this back here for future uses. We'll use Dark Strain's effect and give all my grade 3s boost again. We're looking at 40k columns almost every turn. We'll swing with Bastion here. He has to take it. I do fear that he is all out of PGs here. We do get the grade 3 off the drive check, so we are able to stand our Dark Strain. Swing at the Vanguard again, and we'll take it, and we'll swing with Facade going for a PG. In our hand, we don't have much in grade 3 attackers, so I do want to protect my grade 3 rearguards here. He will basically not Persona Ride, he just swing face is the place. I have a lot of leverage here, so I can definitely just take some damage, but I opt to guard the easy ones. Obviously I do fear the over trigger here, but for some reason I didn't PG. Looking back on that, I definitely should have. But I think that unless he got a crit trigger on his second swing, I would have been okay, and that was my reasoning. Maybe incorrect, maybe I should have definitely PG'd there. Otherwise, throwing the game. So we'll swing with Facade again. No Persona Ride this time, but I did have the soul for another Dark Strain effect. So he's looking at 30, 30, and 30. Effectively 28, 28, 28, which are actually disgustingly magic numbers against grade 3 Vanguards with 30k. He will give me 2 to pass, or I believe this is just 1 to pass. And as you know, in YellowCard Vanguard, you mean no guard. So for our last game, we are playing against Nirvana. I'll discard the Refluke to ride into the fort. He will ride into grade 1 and drive check. I'll discard the Solaria to ride into Rooks. Using Solaria's effect to draw 1, I will swing at the Vanguard and get an over trigger with a grade 3 on the field to +2 with a crit, but he will also over trigger on the defensive. All's fair in love and war. We both got our over triggers. No one can really complain at this point. Let's see what he does. So he uses the skill to Soul Blast 1 and call the Trickstar, overdressing twice, so I got the over trigger, but he got 2 Pot of Greed activations. Luckily for us, he cannot hit our Bastion unless with arcs, in which case we don't really care. We're okay with Bastion dying here, so he will just go face, and that's completely fine with me. I'll discard Solaria to ride, but not use the effect, seeing that I did draw Alden off of the skill of Rooks. We'll make our field here use a Refluke skill to buff the Facade as we swing face and try and get some resources back here. The first attack for Facade is 40k. We will take it. He'll take it. We'll get the counter charge soul charge. We'll swing face here. And he throws down. It looks to be 2 to pass. We don't get it, but we do get 2 grade 3s. Using the Solaria's skill to draw a card back, we'll swing with Facade again to try and get some more resources back. It looks like he will not allow us to do it this time, and we'll swing with Alden for the last attack of the turn to try and push him to 4, which we do, and he gets the defensive trigger on the last attack, which is good to see. He rides from hand, which is obviously incorrect, so instead he will ride from the right deck. Just that way he's able to get the Persona Ride, and the turn after searches for a Nirvana. And unfortunately now, all he has are arcs in the front row, which don't really do anything. He will swing using the skill to give all the arcs plus 10k, and itself gets a crit trigger, which he will give to one of the arcs here. He will swing with that arcs with the crit. I'll throw down the Kokabiel plus another 5k to guard that. And I do believe I guard the last attack as well. I'll go into my turn. We will re-ride into Bastion for the Persona ride. Nothing else to do really except to swing. Unfortunately, I do not have the soul to use a Dark Strain effect. Hit the first attack will go towards base. He will intercept that alongside a card in hand. That's thus able to get the arcs out of the field, as those are actually dead cards. I'll swing with Bastion here. And my drive checks are a 3 and a draw trigger, which I'll give to Facade. Getting the Facade to get him another attack on the Vanguard. At which point, it really doesn't matter. He's already at 5. So at this point, I think maybe swinging with Alden's was the correct play instead of Facade. And Facade will swing one more time and pull out a PG. On his turn, he will Persona Ride, moving the Trickstar up to re-ride into Overdress into Arc, drawing another 2 cards, finding another Overdress pair in a Valiant. However, that's all he can really do. He'll swing with Nirvana, using its skill to give the front row another 10k, so we are looking at some crazy numbers here. I don't have an Overtrigger to fear, as I've already seen it happen, and I guard both attacks with 2 Counterblast left to spare, and I will call the Refluke to get that extra soul, give the power to Alden here, and I will Soul Blast 2 to get Dark Strain's effects live. We'll swing with Alden to the Vanguard, gaining the 5k. He will throw down 3 to guard it, and I will swing with Bastion. If I get a grade 3 here, it is game, which I do, because he has no way of guarding the last Alden attack unless he has a heal trigger on top of the deck, which he does not. So, what you think? Let's go through my thoughts first. Firstly, let's go over the strengths. 1. The deck is crazy aggressive and incredibly easy at making good numbers to attack with, which goes hand in hand with having grade 3 rearguards. Going first versus going second as Bastion is like night and day, as a 2k skill allows for magic numbers against 10k grade 2 vanguards. In the early stages of this game, aggression is king, as you're able to stick damage, which theoretically should be easier to guard. 2. The consistency is pretty good, but not the best. In an ideal world between drive checks, Solarias, Aldens, and draw triggers, I hope to be able to chain Persona rides and keep up with the tempo, but the lack of a hard tutor or a hard salvage leaves us up to a percentage, but the draw power is there and it can only get better. 3. The deck is incredibly simple to pick up and play. The attack order of Rear Van, Rear Rear is forever engraved into my body now, and doesn't even punish drive checking the Overtrigger, as Bastion can proc off your rearguards drive checks too. The magic numbers that come by themselves by being grade 3 rearguards automatically matching grade 3 vanguards, and any 5k increment buffs just attenuate to that. Lastly, let's go over the weaknesses. Guarding's not easy. The ideal drive check on a Bastion turn is obviously a grade 3 and a trigger to provide you with some shield. But in the worst case, where you've had a dry spell of only checking grade 3s, you might have the biggest grip in the world. The fact that they're only grade 3s with no shields might mean that you might lose to missing guard. It's why we run Kokabiel at 4. Secondly, early rush hurts. This deck in particular, running the crazy amounts of grade 3s that it does, is not the greatest at responding to early rush. It's why I opted to run max units in no order, to always have something to call off a Forte, swing at rears to reset the tempo a bit before I can stabilize at 3. Apart from those points, I think I'd summarize Bastion as the apex of this early format of Vanguard, and I hope that its grade 3 focused playstyle evolves as the game does too. The deck is strong, stable, and satisfying to play, as you resolve Alden after Alden after Alden. This has been Toku from YellowCard Vanguard. Toku out. So, before I actually let you guys go, do let me know in the comment section what you thought about the video format. Unfortunately, unlike MBT, who does something similar to this with his 10-minute testing videos, Vanguard does not have a simulator in which I'm able to dictate the pace of the game with fast-forwarding the replay and slow-mowing it down. So I'm basically recording pre-gameplay and fast-forwarding it and then trying to match my commentary to it. Let me know what you thought about it this time. Let me know what you think about the segment, if it's worth doing again in the future. I had fun with it. I was able to play test. I usually do a lot of playtesting on stream, but being able to translate that into something that's not a stream VOD, I do appreciate as well. Do let me know in the comments down below your feedback and anything that I can improve on for the next time that I do this, and any suggestions I can have, because I do really want to make this a staple, something like this a staple in our channel, and I do hope that you guys are with me along for the ride as well. Thanks.